Welcome to the Wellness Reimagined. I am your host, Shreya. Today we are joined by Samantha Kane, a holistic life coach and founder of Roots Beings Wellness, a space where transformation is not just talked about but embodied. Samantha guides soul led individuals into deeper alignment through spiritual embodiment, shadow work, and intuitive leadership. Her work sits beautifully at the intersection of mystical wisdom and practical self mastery, helping people remember who they are and rise into the fullest expression of themselves. Tonight, we explore a compelling theme: the evolution of you, how we grow, unravel, and reshape ourselves from the inside out. Welcome, Samantha. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Well, thank you, Shreya. I'm very happy to be here.
Samantha, the phrase, the evolution of you, is very powerful. When you look at your own life, what moment marked the beginning of your personal evolution?
Whoa, I like that question. Thank you. I don't know if I can recall one specific first moment because by now there have been so many. And just my self-reflection. Um, all I can say really is that since my youth, I've been very turned on in the sense where I'm like tuned in to the spiritual side of life. I've been very adept to self awareness, and I didn't know how to harness it until I had more life experience as I grew up. But I think for me, it really just started at a young age. But like I say, I can't really pinpoint the first moment. But there have been many moments that Willie gave me quite an awakening. And then eventually it's like, an earthquake with a bunch of tremors and little quakes. Eventually I had what some people call a Kundalini awakening. And that was the biggest shakeup of self reflection I've ever had. And that was about several years ago. And that was that was probably the most massive defining moments of my life because it shook me to my core and it really made me face myself and reflect in a way I haven't ever before. It made me stop and review everything so that I could see where I was at and make significant, gigantic shifts and changes in my life, which are all for the better.
That's really interesting. And and in hindsight, do you feel that moment chose you more than you chose it?
Oh, I think hearing you say that out loud, I think it was a bit of both. I think my soul chose it, and I think subconsciously my human side chose it as well. And I'll tell you why, because we go through life with blinders on so often, and we don't want to get honest and raw and real because we don't want to feel things because no one wants to feel pain, right? But the reality is that you can go in a very simple, basic, black and white way of looking at things. You can go through life doing the same thing you've always done with no results for those things in your life that are not successful by your standards of whatever success means to you. Or you can completely shift your thinking and your mindset and really catapult yourself into a different kind of self growth, which will then lead you to, habit change and lifestyle change and all these wonderful, beautiful things that can happen for you to help you live a happier, healthier life. So for me, I think it was a bit of both. I just didn't know what it was, and I couldn't really understand anything until I was on the other side of it after I went through everything, which is kind of how it is for most people. You don't really see, "Well, why did my boyfriend break up with me?" Or "Why did I lose that job?" Or "Why did I get demoted?" Or, "Why do I have to move out of this house that I love or this location?" Or, we always ask why these things are happening to us, but they're happening for us. And there's always a reason, but we usually just don't see it in the moment until we go through it, and then we self-reflect and we look back and we go, "Oh, okay. Now that I've been through it, I can see the lesson that was planted there for me."
Yes. It's so interesting how growth often begins in the places we would never expect, and your story could help listeners recognize their turning points in their own lives.
Yeah, I hope so.
And also, your work blends spiritual embodiment with shadow work. How do these two paths support each other in someone's evolution?
I believe that you cannot have spirituality without well-being and well-being without spirituality. I believe that they are one and the same. Because we are souls first and then we are bodies, we have to see that we are merged together as one unit. It's very hard because emotions get the best of us, and situations and circumstances and events, they take us into such a harsh, stubborn, confused, sometimes feeling entrapped or stuck ways of feeling that we feel like we're just stuck in a like a cog in the wheel, and we have no forward movement, and we just can't see, steps ahead of us. We just feel like we're stagnant in things. And it's not until you find gratitude for the things that have true meaning in life, like the
Mm.
blessing to be here, the blessing that you have that your lungs are helping you breathe, the blessing that you have 2 feet that are helping you walk, the blessing that you have if you still have 2 eyes and they can see. Whatever you have going for you, I worked with paraplegics, I've worked with, veterans and people who no longer have limbs and or no longer have, emotional capacity to withstand certain circumstances because of things they've gone through with trauma and PTSD. But despite our challenges, and you don't have to go through a physical war, but it often feels like we're going through a mental, emotional war in life, just with our families or careers or situations that are presented to us. And so it's really important to widen the perspective and the scope of things to understand that we were here for, or were put here for a reason. And there's so much more than our problems and our challenges and the things that happen to us, because I like to look at it as things are happening for us. There's reason behind everything, there's lessons behind everything. And when you allow a spiritual essence to wrap around all the potential and the available opportunities for us, it really sparks a higher state of being than only thinking about our, place and footing in life as humans, because that's not the truth. The truth is we're souls first, and that we need to help our soul on the soul journey. And that is through a lot of work here, unfortunately. But if we don't look at it like work and we look at it as play, then we can really help ourselves have a better time here.
Yes, that is so beautiful, though you said it. I think that balance is something many struggle with. So breaking it down can really make the inner work feel more accessible and grounded. And
Exactly.
yes. And Also, you help individuals release limitations and lead from their soul. What is the most common internal barrier that keeps people disconnected from their higher self?
I think it's more or less what I was just referring to was is that people get stuck on a moment in time with how they want something to go and it's not going the way that they want to. So for instance, you could be struggling in a friendship, let's say, and you just don't understand why things are the way they are because you see the potential in this person and you know that they have a heart of gold, but there's just something sticky and tricky about them that is rubbing you the wrong way. There's just not great energy there for some reason at this time, even though you've seen glimmers of great energy before. So it's confusing. And you can apply this to anything in your life. This could be a job, it could be a relationship, a romantic partnership. It could, somebody in your family. So enter any category here that you're struggling with. But for this sake, as a friendship situation, we really want to get so stuck in potential of the way we want things to be that our focus tends to be that instead of the reality of where we really are right now. What do we need to face? Maybe this person needs to be set aside, or not dealt with as much as a friend, or maybe not considered a friend anymore. That's the whole thing is just something to consider because a lot of people get very loyal to things that change. And if they're not changing for the betterment of your own energy, which you should always protect your own energy, then you have to look at it a little bit differently. Maybe just because you've been friends with someone for 10 years or 40 years, that's not good enough reason to still be friends with that person. If something has shifted in them that doesn't support you and your growth, and in fact does the opposite and hinders it, then maybe that's something to think about and possibly change.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And your approach bridges the mystical with the practical. How do you help someone translate spiritual insight into real life action?
So I have really come from a place where I try to help people build a strong foundation, and that is in grounding rituals. So, through breath work and journaling and self check ins and all different types of tools within that realm that I help people implement at the right time. Not all of them are daily, some of them are. Some of them are weekly or on an as needed basis, but it's inserting specific curated ways and methods that serve the purpose in your life for your needs. For instance, if you're someone that's, almost hyperventilating all the time because you're going through life so fast and everything is rush, 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 and maybe you have three jobs and three kids and one husband and four dogs, and maybe your life is chaos.
Mm.
Well, how do you deal with that? We have to bring it back to the basics. We have to bring it back to the essence of you. And you're not going to have an evolution and a self growth of you if you're spinning your wheels and you're just stuck in bad habits, not taking care of yourself. So it's kind of like self care meets spirituality, where you're doing the self care as priority, not all the time because some people do not have time for that, and that's understood. So you place very tiny micro moments into your daily life, and then there's even the smallest moments can have the greatest outcomes. But when you start to get in touch with yourself and you have more grounding and you can spread your roots a little bit wider and you stretch yourself, you actually remember to look up at the sky and notice, are there clouds in the sky today? It's not just talking about the weather, it's feeling the air, it's feeling your energy, feeling into other people's energies. That's where the spiritual side comes in. You have to place boundaries in your life. You have to be realistic in your life, face yourself, deal with the emotions. But you do this all through tapping into your senses, which can be in any given moment. And like I say, it can be a pretty quick thing because, like any new good habit, once it formulates and you implement it in your life, then you integrate it in your life. And after a certain amount of weeks or months, it's like autopilot and you just get through your days so much better.
Yes, I think this is where many get stuck, having the vision but not the embodiment, and your perspective can open a more fluid way of integrating both worlds.
Yes.
Also, for someone standing at the threshold of their next evolution but unsure how to step forward, what is the most meaningful place to begin?
I would say to start with just the simple thought that you can take one step forward and it does not matter how big of a step that it is. Just place one foot in front of the other with something. Think of one thing, one realistic, practical tool that you want to use that you resonate with. So, whether that's incorporating meditation or going to a yoga class down the street that you've been meaning to go to, or if you're a runner, actually putting your shoes by the door, for the morning so that you can get ready and go. And even if you start something with 1 minute or 5 minutes or however long, just that one tiny step, afterwards, you feel so great, right? It's that feeling of like, okay, I did it. Well, okay, can I do this again tomorrow? So it's really dialing it way back because most people I deal with are highly overwhelmed and they mostly do this to themselves because they forget that we are here to play. We are here to make strong but big moves and align with our higher selves as much as we want. But we can't do that until we lighten up and we lighten the mood and we don't put so much pressure on ourselves. So it's really a great service that we can do for ourselves and then everyone around us because they feel our energy too, is just taking that first step and then slowly continue down the path. You don't need to make these large goals for yourself. That's a misconception, in my opinion, that people do. I'm going to do this thing for 90 days. I'm going to do this thing for the year. Just start with today or tomorrow, and that's it. Not, I'm gonna start this diet on, next week or next month. Just get it done. Get the one time done, whatever it is, and then ask yourself how you feel after, and obviously, you're gonna feel great because you accomplished something you wanted to, and then you can move on to the next and the next, and then you build with a slow momentum, but it starts with lightening the mood for that very first step.
That is so wonderful that we say that. I think it's the first brave step that changes everything, and your insight might give listeners exactly the permission they have been waiting for. Um, this is a wonderful conversation with you, and if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Thank you so much. So I am on Instagram at Roots Wings Wellness. And I also have a website, rootswingswellness.com. I have a free guide, The Art of Nonconformity, 5 powerful tips to break free and live authentically. That is an instant download. And I also offer a complimentary session for anyone that is wanting that.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you and know more from you because you're truly an amazing person. And thank you, Samantha, for bringing such clarity, depth, and soulful grounding to this conversation. I think your work reminds us that evolution is not a destination but a continuous unfolding of who we are becoming. And
Thank
to
you, Shreya.
thank you so much. And to all my listeners, let this be an invitation to step into your next chapter with courage and curiosity. Your evolution begins the moment you decide to meet yourself honestly. Take that step and watch your life transform from the inside out. And do not forget to hit the follow button, subscribe, and also feel free to share your thoughts because your ears deserve premium content. Thank you.